Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our presentation today with our great partners from SolarWinds. In just a couple minutes, I'm going to pass the presentation over to Kieran and Emmett, who will share their desktop and talk to you about the great opportunity that SolarWinds represents to you and your business and how you can profit by partnering more closely with them. Just before I do that, I want to encourage you to ask questions, and you may do that by entering any questions you have in the chat panel on the right-hand side of the screen. By the way, my name is Don Grease. I am the Manager of Business Development and Vendor Programs here at Lifeboat Distribution, and I'm joining the session today from New Jersey in the United States. So it's a pleasure for me to be here. It's really a pleasure and an honor for Lifeboat to be a part of this presentation. And so without any further ado, I just want to say thank you for joining us today, and I'm going to pass it over now to Kieran.
Thanks, Don. Good afternoon, everybody. Again, welcome to today's webinar. So we're going to have a two-part presentation. We're going to kick off to start with a commercial piece to take you through a little bit about SolarWinds, what we do, and a high-level overview of our technology, and that's going to be done with my colleague Emmett. And then we're going to swap back to me, and I'll take you through some more technical pieces on our software, and there will be an interactive online demo portion as well, where we're actually going to show you the software, what it looks like, how it works, and take you through all of that as well. So if you just bear with us for a second while I just share my screen. And all going well, we should have a presentation, so I'm going to leave you with Emmett for a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Kieran. Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, Don. Thanks for the opportunity to speak with you. It's exciting for us to be able to do a joint webinar with the Lifeboat. It's something that we've tried to set up a number of times in the past, so thanks to Toon and Amal for getting this kicked off. As Kieran said, I'll kick it off with the commercial aspects of SolarWinds and the engagements that we have. I'll do just a quick background on SolarWinds, and I'll talk a little bit about the IT management challenges that are out there from an industry perspective. Very briefly, I'll touch on the product overviews. I won't go into it in too much detail because Kieran will drill down into that. He's very good at giving presentations on the product set and doing the technical demos, so I don't want to belabor the point on that. And just talk a little bit about more so the market opportunity for channel partners that we have here in EMEA. So in terms of who we are, so SolarWinds, obviously as the screen says, we provide IT management software, and we've specifically highlighted the powerful, easy to use and affordable points in that first sentence, because that's the core ethos and foundation of the company. It's a company was started back in 1998 by two brothers who created their own tools for managing their own network. And at that point, they decided they would have a shot at establishing a company to sell the products to other companies. So they developed what we still sell today, which is our engineers tool set. Is everybody still able to hear? There seems to be an issue.
Hi, Don. So I just wanted to check that the audio is okay. Just a message is coming up here about dialing in by telephone. Just to make sure, Don, is there any audio issues there on your end?
We're hearing you loud and clear. I think a couple of folks are having a problem, but they're going to dial in again.
Problem. Just wanted to double check. Thanks for that.
Okay. Cool. Thanks. So the company was founded back in 1998, and we developed an engineers tool set product, which we still sell to this day. And then the company moved to Austin, Texas, and we developed our core platform, which is the Orion network, which Kieran will show in a second. That network management suite of products is kind of our core business, core bread and butter at the moment. And then when we moved to Austin, we got venture capitalist funding, and we had the intention of going public, which we did very successfully in 2009. So all our financials and all our records are publicly stated on the internet. You can find them out there. There are no issues there. If you look at the slide on the right-hand side, you can see our growth trajectory. We've had massive growth year over year for the past number of years. Obviously, 2011, we've continued that, and at our most recent earnings call, if anybody was on it or any of our channel partners engaged and listened to that call, you would have heard our CEO specifically call out the EMEA results and the EMEA team here, so it's something we're very proud of. We had 50% plus growth in EMEA, and there were certain regions in EMEA that had triple-digit growth. So we're very excited to hear that and to see that and to be mentioned at a corporate level on all the financial analysis of the company. That's kind of where we're at as a company. We're continuing to grow. We're continuing to add headcount. We're continuing to expand the offices. We're predominantly an inside sales model. We don't have sales offices all over Europe, so we rely heavily on our channel partners to drive our business activities in regions. We kind of own the branding and the awareness piece, and then we work with our strategic partners like Lifeboat to drive our reseller base for us and drive sales in that regard. In terms of looking at the IT management challenges that are out there in the industry, I mean, we recognize that there are a lot of very popular vendors out there, the incumbent vendors like the HPs, the IBMs, that are really positioning enterprise class products. We look at those and we see them as being expensive and complex and a little bit cumbersome, to be quite honest. A lot of times our competitors and our customer base look to us and say, well, you're priced very affordably, you're very cost-effective pricing-wise, you must be targeting commercial and small and medium business. But in reality, we're not. We're targeting right across the board from the commercial SMB space right up to the enterprise space. So as a channel partner, I think it's important for everybody to understand the product sets that we have and the expansion of the business to show where we're now playing across the board from commercial, small and medium business right up to the enterprise side. And again, the incumbent vendors that are out there at the enterprise level, they do a very good job of positioning those products. We typically have a tagline internally that says we give 90% of the functionality of those enterprise class products for about 10 to 20% of the cost. And I think it's important for channel partners to realize that when we say that, there are opportunities out there that we're going to provide full functionality for a lot less cost than you're going to get from one of the larger enterprise class vendors. So typically we would always look to see a cross-sell opportunity. I did a commercial webinar earlier this morning for the channel partners across EMEA. We had a huge turnout for that, and we had a case study on there from the UK. And it was really important. It was really good to see that case study showed that the initial interest was a small little engineer's tool set, and they looked at all the other products in our portfolio and now have NPM and UDT in their install base as well. So it's important to see that. So from a network management perspective, which I think is going to be the core focus of the presentations today, we would have a number of products that we position there. So anything above the black line on this slide is our enterprise, what we would position as competing against an enterprise class environment. So you look at Orion Network Performance Monitor and an Orion Network Configuration Manager. They're the two key products. And so if you recall at the start of the presentation, I mentioned that originally the founding fathers of the company created the engineer's toolset. That's down there on the left below that line. They're all good, handy entry-level products to get in the door at a customer, but we typically cross-sell and upsell to the Orion and Network Performance products. So in terms of use cases, we typically want our channel partners to be asking pertinent questions of their customer base. If there's issues with where you need to reduce your network downtime, or if you just want to really proactively monitor your network environment and you want to get out there in front of those issues, you want to know what's happening, you want to set your thresholds and the alerts, and Kieran will dive into this in the demo. But our user interface is very, very clever. It's very clean. A lot of customers like how easy it is. Even if you're not a technical person, you can follow it. It's kind of almost like a traffic light approach, red, yellow, green. If it's red, you have an issue, it needs it to be actioned straight away. If it's yellow, you might set that threshold to say, okay, it's a light yellow, not something that you want to actually action, but you do want to monitor it. And then if it's green, there's no issues at all. You don't even have to look at it. So we're kind of positioning our products in that way that we spend kind of less time, actively managing every piece on the network. We want to look at those exceptions. So again, it says that the daily tasks just made that bit more simple. So there's a lot of different use cases that the channel partners can look at and ask those questions. So in terms of why you'd want to partner with SolarWinds, I mean, our market opportunity is significant. Obviously, the purpose of this webinar session is to talk specifically on the network management side, but we've also added some core products into our business, some specialty products to our business called the Storage Manager, Virtualization Manager, and Log and Event Manager. And Log and Event Manager is kind of a natural upsell on the Orion product, so I always like to talk about it in a Netman webinar. But in reality, our estimated market TAM is somewhere in the region of $6.7 to $7 billion now. So this is a little bit out of date on the slide. And again, the opportunity to cross-sell is huge. So we have customers that would have come to us for a transactional product like an engineer's tool set or an IPMon or a QE product, and we've cross-sold to them and managed to upgrade the amount of products they take from our product portfolio. And again, through the natural expansion that we've had, we've invested $150–160 million in the last 12 to 18 months, acquiring 5 or 6 different, actually 8 different companies now at this stage. So we've a lot of additional products added into our product portfolio. So with our growth model, there's always the opportunity to cross-sell and upsell. Again, when you look at some of the taglines that we have about being easy to use and easy to deploy, being affordable, I mean, they're all things that we can work on with channel partners. We can help them explain those point by point against either a technology vendor or against our competition. So we work very closely with our channel partners. We give webinar sessions just like this one that we're doing with Lifeboat. Kieran leads a very strong sales engineering team here in EMEA that are excellent at doing product demos that can get on and help for some of the larger opportunities. Typically, we have some pre-sales guidelines that we shoot out to our channel partners to help with that, and we can help frame for newer reseller partners who mightn't be familiar how to quote and how to license the product. So again, I mean, it really is. It can be an easy sell for the transactional products. Usually, you're talking to the network guy or the IT guy who's got a certain level of budget that he can just sign off. Obviously, as you scale up and add more products and do custom solutions, it gets into longer sales cycles and more levels of approval, but we can help with all that. So in terms of identifying opportunities, again, this is a very busy slide. There's a lot of different types of questions that can be asked. I put this up there as a sample of something that's out. I'm not going to read through all the slides. Luckily, it's enough for everybody to hear. But there's a lot of information like this that we share in our partner portal. So we ask these questions of all the prospects and prospective customers that we have is, do you actually have network devices that could benefit from availability or fault or performance monitoring? Do you just, effectively what we're asking is, do you really just want to proactively monitor your network before things become an issue? And then obviously we have a product or feature that works for most of those questions. So I'd encourage all the channel partners to log on to Partner Portal and take a look for this type of information. The Partner Portal, again, you can register. If you haven't already registered for it, I encourage you to register it, solarwinds.com/partners. There's a lot of information up there in terms of videos and sales cards, battle cards, competitive matrix, some sales presentations. You can get the list prices up there. You can apply for a demo license. There's a lot of marketing collateral up there, branding and logos and boxes. It is a little bit out of date, but we are working on refreshing that. And obviously this webinar is part of a series that we're running this quarter. So Kieran's done a couple already, and I think there's a few deeper dive technical sessions after this. And there's also a marketing webinar, I think, on August 29th that we're running ourselves independently of any channel partners. And our marketing manager, Della Ledwith, will be on that. She's a marketing manager for me, and she'll talk specifically on the refreshes and changes coming on the partner portal. But there is a ton of information going to be put up there to help support the channel partners. So I think that's kind of what I wanted to talk about from a commercial perspective. I'm actually going to jump out of this webinar now, but feel free. Most people know me. If you don't, you can reach out to Amal or Toon from the Lifeboat office, and they'll forward any questions from a commercial perspective to myself. I'm going to let Kieran jump in and take over the network management piece and the technical overviews. Thanks, Kieran.
Fantastic. Thanks, Emmett. Okay, guys, so we're going to shift a little bit now and talk through the Orion Network Management Suite at a technical level. So first off, just to introduce the suite and describe what it is. So Orion is a suite of network fault and performance management products. We've built these up over time, and when combined, all of these modules together will essentially monitor and manage pretty much every aspect of your network, and it'll do that under one single and easy-to-use dashboard. And that's a key point, and we find a lot of our customers are looking for a solution now to either replace different disparate products that they're using, and they want to combine everything under a single dashboard, and they are also generally looking for easy-to-use products that are fit for purpose. So those are real wins for the Orion product suite. So the currently available modules, and these are increasing all of the time. The first one is the Orion Network Performance Monitor, and that's the one we're going to talk most about today. I've got a good few slides on NPM. And when I go through the demo piece in a little while, I'll be showing that product to you in a fair bit of detail as well. But that's our flagship product. That's been around now for quite a while, and it's essentially a network management system for network fault and performance monitoring. The first module that we released was called the NetFlow Traffic Analyzer, or NTA for short, and it's probably still our most popular module, and it provides detailed bandwidth monitoring using NetFlow or IPFix standards. We have another module called the Orion IPSLA Manager, which essentially will allow you to monitor your VoIP and network quality performance. And that's actually going to be updated very, very shortly, and it's going to be rebranded as well to Orion VNQM, the Voice Network Quality Manager. And we're going to be enhancing the functionality around monitoring call data records from Cisco call managers, as well as various other enhancements. So we're very excited about that upcoming release. The Orion Network Configuration Management product sort of fits in nicely with this entire suite. It's a little bit different in terms of what it does. It's not really monitoring performance of something. It's more about managing device configurations. So it will do things like letting you back up configurations from all of your network devices on a scheduled basis. It'll allow you to roll out device configurations from a central point out to multiple devices, as well as doing a whole range of other things. And I've got a slide on that where I'll touch on some of the main highlights of that product. We also have the Orion IP Address Manager, and that was recently updated to version 3. Up until then, it was essentially just a spreadsheet replacement which performed IP address management tasks and did automated scans of subnets and so on. But in the latest version now, we've really enhanced the whole area of DHCP. We can link into Microsoft and Cisco DHCP servers. For a Microsoft DHCP server where we can actually edit DHCP scopes, put in exclusions, create new scopes and so on. And we can also retrieve information from Windows DNS servers as well. So that covers the whole area of DDI or DHCP, DNS and IPAM now. So that was a very impressive launch earlier on this year. And finally then we have the User Device Tracker. A more recent addition to the portfolio, I think it was last year, maybe early last year. A very nice one. Again, it grew out of a tool within our toolkit that Emma talked about earlier on. And it'll do a scan of all of your switches and essentially tell you what's plugged into them, not just the layer 2 and layer 3 information, but it'll actually tie into Active Directory and pull back the usernames of the people who are logged onto those endpoints. And incidentally, you'll see a star next to most of those products. That indicates that they can be purchased on their own. So one of the key points to take away about the Orion suite is that the licensing schemes of them generally are independent and are very flexible. So a customer really only needs to purchase what they need for their own environment. And over time, their needs may change, and as that happens, they can then look at adding on additional modules. So you don't need to purchase an extremely bulky product that contains loads of features that you may not be interested in. You essentially pay for what you need as a customer. And as I say, our products will adapt to your needs as they change. So I'm going to go and look into the flagship product in more detail, which is the Network Performance Monitor. So again, what is it? It's a network management system that will give you detailed fault and performance information about all of the devices on your network. It'll do that in real time, and it'll allow you to quickly detect, diagnose, and resolve issues. Some more information about the product. So first off, it's a multi-vendor system, and that's key. These days, our customers, the people we're speaking with every day, have devices from all different vendors on their network. Some of them may be predominantly Cisco or HP or one specific vendor, but in most cases, they tend to have other devices in there, be they legacy devices or different devices from companies that have merged or been acquired and so on. So it is key that we can monitor and manage a device from any manufacturer. On top of that, the Orion Network Performance Monitor is extremely easy to deploy. And this is key really in terms of replacing those incumbent vendors that Emmett spoke about earlier on, the HPs and Cisco's and IBM's and EMC's of this world, where their products are not easy to deploy. They take a considerable length of time to set up, configure. Generally, professional services need to be involved at some level to complete these deployments. We're not really doing that with SolarWinds. We're cutting straight to the chase. You can have these products up and running in your network and actually collecting performance data, generally speaking, in under an hour. And that's possible really throughout our product suite. At the same time, we need to ensure that our products will scale, and the Network Performance Monitor is an extremely scalable product. We have customers monitoring and managing several 100,000 elements with the Orion NPM suite, and it has a whole host of features in it. As Emmett mentioned earlier on, the tagline of 90% of the functionality at sort of 10 to 20% of the cost, and that certainly holds true with the Network Performance Monitor. And I'll be going through some of those key features in the next slide as well. It's a very well established product. It's very well known in the industry. It's received several awards. It's been around now for over 10 years, I believe. We're on version 10.3, 10.4 will be coming later this year. There's a very active development cycle. You generally see 2 major releases per year. And it's a very stable and has a lot of features that have been added into it over the years, essentially. Because of that, it also has a very strong customer base throughout, obviously, North America, EMEA, APAC. Worldwide, we have an extremely strong customer base within the Orion NPM product. It's an extremely dynamic network management system because of the way it operates and the way it can be used. It tends to be used in all different sorts of environments, not just traditional NMS environments where you're monitoring, standard networking equipment, core and distribution access layer devices, but it can be used really to monitor any object on the network, so long as it has an SNMP agent on it, which is the protocol we use to collect these performance statistics. I've seen NPM being used to monitor things like environmental control systems in data centers, standard sort of devices, almost like printers and so on, and video conferencing units on the network. It can be used in any way, really, providing the devices, as I mentioned, can speak SNMP. It was launched in 2001 on version 10.3. I mentioned that already. So on the next slide here, I'm just going to touch on some of the main features. And, with NPM, this slide isn't going to cover all the features because there are quite a lot in there. But there is a full list of them up on the website on SolarWinds.com, where we have a solution finder which you can navigate through to find that information. And I'll be going through some of it as well interactively during the online demo piece. So the first piece, and I've already mentioned this, is the whole ease of use, up and running in under an hour. Automated alerting. This is definitely a feature that most customers we speak with are interested in. They don't want to have to constantly look at a screen or a dashboard to spot key trends or information about their system. They need to be alerted based on different conditions that they set up. Now, most network management systems will have some sort of alerting mechanism built into the product, where they can be alerted by, for example, email or text message. But the Orion's alerting engine is actually extremely advanced in terms of the way it can be configured. So it can do things like ensuring you're not going to receive false positive alerts by setting sustained thresholds. It has a range of alert actions available, not just email, but it can do things like executing external scripts on the back of an alert that's been triggered, or generating log files, or tying into other products by way of external executables that can be run. So there's a whole range of different things that you can do with the alerting engine. It's certainly one of the strong points of the product. The next one, I think, is also a key point in terms of how it can be customized. And because of the whole, the range of requirements that our customers come to us with, they really need a product that can be adapted to their own individual needs. And that requires, in a lot of cases, some customization in terms of what we're monitoring, but also how we're presenting the performance data to the users. And the Orion web console that you're going to see in a little bit is extremely customizable. You can pretty much change everything that you see. You can present the information in a range of different ways. You can provide user logons that have limited access to certain aspects of the network and so on. And that's definitely a key point in terms of our ability to promote and sell this product. Robust alerting and reporting. I've already talked about the alerting piece, but hand in hand with that would be the reporting requirements that our customers tend to have. And again, these can range from all different sorts of reports that need to be created around network performance, network availability, baseline reports, and so on. And again, Orion comes with a broad set of out-of-the-box reports. These can be customized. That's the key point. There is a report writer with the product that allows you to go in, customize reports that have been created, indeed create your own reports, and then schedule those to be sent out if and when you need that to happen. And that's key as well, generally speaking, to the requirements our customers are looking for. We have this acronym called LUCID, Logical, Usable, Customizable, Interactive, and Drill Down. A bit of a mouthful there. But each of those words is key in terms of summarizing the power of the Orion interface through its web console. Very easy to use it, very intuitive, but at the same time extremely advanced and extremely customizable, as I mentioned earlier on. And it's interactive and drill down. It provides a wealth of information to you that's easy to understand and summarized nicely for you. Now, all of these things are fine, but as well as that, the product does need to be cost effective, and that's definitely something we can say of all of the SolarWinds products, but in particular the network management suite that we've had now for a long time. Because it's a flexible licensing scheme and a combination of the scalability, the rich feature set, but also the ease of use, we really have the ability to sell this product into customers of all sizes, be they small and medium enterprises who maybe were using a free tool or a very low-level product, right up to your larger enterprises like your larger telcos or banks or insurance companies and so on, who have much deeper requirements, may be using one of the enterprise-level products from some of those vendors we spoke about earlier on, but are looking to maybe reduce cost or reduce complexity and amalgamate several products together. Our licensing scheme can adapt to all those different sorts of customers, and that's key, again, in enabling us to successfully sell this product throughout the market. The next piece is around the discovery and mapping, and this aids the whole, up and running in under an hour and ease of use. Once you plug in this product and essentially turn it on, the first thing it asks you to do is to do a discovery of your network. So it will go out, do a scan, and it will detect and discover all of the equipment within the range that you specify. And then you can choose what you want to monitor. And from there, you can automatically interconnect your devices on a map using a function within our map tool called Connect Now, which essentially looks at logical connections between devices and then essentially represents that graphically for you. And again, that's another really nice little selling point. And I'll give you an example of a map here in a second when we have a look at the online demo. I'm not going to touch for too much time on the next one, support for both syslog and SNMP traps. That's around fault management. Those are two standard fault messaging standards, and we can receive both of them. We have another product, as Emmett mentioned earlier on, called the Log and Event Manager, which ties in here as well. If you're looking for advanced security or fault management, then that product is probably the one you'd be looking for there. But certainly in terms of just receiving messages from devices around environmental conditions and so on, NPM has both a syslog and a trap receiver to allow you to do that. And as I mentioned, there are many, many more features. You can see a full list of those up on SolarWinds.com, where we have a solution finder that lets you navigate through all of our product portfolio to find the product that you're looking for to suit your needs. So the next slide is one that I like to go through. Now, it is quite a busy slide as well. I do try to break it up a little bit. Essentially, what we're describing here are some of the main pain points that our customers tend to come to us with, and a description of how we sort of solve those pain points using the Network Performance Monitor. And these pain points will sort of increase in complexity or severity, I suppose, as we navigate down through the list. So the first one here is really an entry-level sort of requirement that customers may come to us with, and it's really around having no real proper visibility into network performance. They may not have a tool at all, or they may have some sort of a free tool that isn't really up to the requirements of the job at hand. And customers are looking to be more proactive. They currently are maybe reacting to network problems. They're notified by end users of events that are occurring, and they're looking for a tool that will go out proactively and monitor and manage their network for them. So that's a real entry-level sort of requirement there, a standard one, if you will. And NPM will certainly help you if you're in this sort of a category. And as I mentioned, if you go out and do an automatic discovery, and then if you continually poll these devices for both status and statistics, and then those results are very easily and clearly displayed up on the web console, and you can be alerted automatically and so on. The next point here, and again I touched on this one in a previous slide, is that over time we do speak with customers who have accumulated various different tools in different business areas of the organization. These tools maybe do not speak with each other. There's no single dashboard, there's no single interface for users or admins to manage everything. And people are looking to get away from that and to simplify their setup, and where possible, looking to consolidate all of these different tools into a single solution that gives them everything that they're looking for. And because NPM is part of a wider suite of products, and indeed Orion is part of a wider suite of products within the SolarWinds portfolio, we have the ability to certainly assist customers who are looking to do this. And the Orion suite, given all of the modules that I spoke about previously, when combined, will give you everything under that single pane of glass. This one is an interesting one, and we do hear a lot more about this, particularly in EMEA and in particular in the UK region, where we're dealing with customers who are looking to provide a managed service or a monitoring service to their own customers, and they're looking for a tool that will work and function in that sort of multi-tenant environment. And this is a bit more specific now. This is getting a little bit more advanced, I guess. And these types of customers have specific requirements around how the product can be deployed and how it can be configured to allow users from different customers, for example, to access their information through a centralized system. So Orion is a very flexible product in terms of how it can be deployed and how it can be architected, and it's very well suited to the managed service provider space. And we do have many MSPs out there who are using Orion in this sort of an environment. It works very well. As I mentioned, it's extremely customizable, which aids this goal. And we're hearing a lot more about that, and I think we will continue to hear more about that as customers are looking to move towards a software as a service or a cloud-based solution, and Orion can kind of be used to perform that sort of task. The next one is we need an easy-to-use tool, and I mentioned that's definitely a requirement we hear about all the time. But in conjunction, they're looking for something that's both scalable and feature-rich, and has the ability to be integrated with other third-party applications. So it's not a siloed application sitting on its own that can't interact with anything else. And again, we've got a variety of options with Orion for that. It has a software development kit available, which allows admins or programmers, I suppose, to interface Orion in with other applications, things like ticketing systems, things like customer databases and so on, to basically share information between the two. And that's possible in a more advanced way using the SDK. And I've already touched on the ease of use and scalability piece of that point. And the final one we have, and I think I've talked about this already, all around costs. We're looking to reduce costs, reduce complexity, and in a lot of cases, we can replace one of those enterprise level tools for the same price as their annual maintenance, depending on the product that's involved and the scope of the project and so on. And again, that's something that we do regularly here, because we have the functionality that they need, and we're doing it at a much reduced cost. So for the next 3 or 4 slides, I'm going to go through at a very high level, and we're just going to give one slide on each of the modules that we described earlier on, and then I'm going to kick over to the online demo piece. As Don mentioned at the start, just a reminder, you do have your Q&A panel there. If you have any questions at all, you only need to wait till the end, just type them in. We'll take a break and we can go through any questions that you have. I'd love to hear any questions that you have on the product. So this module is called the NetFlow Traffic Analyzer. And as I mentioned earlier, this was our first module that we released for the Orion suite, and I think it's probably still our most popular one, and it's a bit of a no-brainer, to be honest with you. If you're a network admin looking at monitoring the performance of the network, this is a module that you're most likely going to be interested in because of the level of detail that it gives you. You could almost think of this really as your sort of big brother monitoring application. It can tell you all about how your network bandwidth is being used. Generally speaking, it would be used for wide area network and internet bandwidth connectivity, but it can be used to track, local area network bandwidth usage as well if you did want to go down that route. And what it'll do is as you see in the screen here, it'll break out your network traffic by things like source and destination, types of protocols, applications. It'll also look at quality of service metrics as well, and you can quite clearly see with this information how that bandwidth is being used, who's using it, and what they're using it for. The IPSLA product, in my opinion, this is a very, very strong module, and possibly one which we don't sell enough of, and maybe there should be more awareness of it. And it allows you to essentially track how your voice over IP infrastructure is performing, but it also allows you to monitor wide area network quality. So what it can do is it can set up what we call IPSLA operations, or think of them as tests between a source and a destination on the network. And generally these two source and destinations would be at different parts of the network, maybe across a wide area link. And it can then measure things like latency, jitter, packet loss, mean opinion score on the VoIP side. It can do things like round trip delay, TCP connectivity times. It can even measure response times to websites as well. And it'll do that from the perspective of remote devices on the network. So you could have multiple sites, each with a device that we can set up for these operations, and those will be Cisco switches or routers. And from there we can run these tests out to different points on the network and then retrieve the results centrally. Now this module, as I mentioned earlier on, is going through a revamp. It's very shortly going to be renamed to the Voice Network Quality Manager. We're going to be doing a lot of enhancements around adding in capabilities to monitor call managers, in particular call data records and call manager records around voice calls. You'll be able to drill into an awful lot of detail there. And that'll be coming up quite soon, and we're looking forward, as I said, to getting that out there and getting it off the ground. The next product then is the Network Configuration Manager, and this has been around for a significant length of time as well in conjunction with the Network Performance Monitor. What it allows you to do is back up your device configurations, do comparisons between different sets of configs, roll out configuration changes to multiple devices in bulk, and be notified in real time of config changes that are being made to devices. There's also a change management approval and workflow built into it. It also has the ability to run an inventory of all your network devices to pull back things like serial numbers, chassis IDs, iOS image details, and so on. And it also has a compliance engine within it as well. So what you can do with that is you can put rules in place, for example, relating to security or specific types of configurations, and then you can run a report against your network device configurations to determine whether or not those configurations are compliant to those rules or whether they're in breach of them. And then you can take actions either automatically or yourself ad hoc based on the results of those reports. So it's a very, very comprehensive product, the Config Manager. And another point that I didn't mention so far in the highlights there is that, again, it's multi-vendor. So we're not just working with the mainstream vendors like your Cisco's and HPs, but we're working with any device really that has a command line interface that we can interface with in order to communicate with the device and perform config management tasks. So that's a quick run through of some of the main modules. There are actually a couple of additional modules that I didn't touch on, but at this point I think I'm going to actually switch over now and actually give you a look at some of this technology. So this is our online demo. This is available on SolarWinds.com. You'll see links to log in and try it out. It's a fantastic system. You can interact with it. You can navigate through. It's fully functional. And you'll also see links then as well to be able to download free trials of our software, and that's a key point as well. All of our customers, partners and so on can try out our products free of charge, 30-day trial, and everything in terms of functionality is included within those trials. So some other vendors will give trials of products and they'll severely limit their functionality to 5 devices or something like that. What you get with the trials with SolarWinds is a fully featured and functioning product, obviously just with a time limitation of 30 days on it. So this is the Lucid web interface that I spoke of within the slide deck, and I'll just introduce this and kind of explain the flow and how it works. So at the top here you have a console that allows you to see which modules you have installed along your menu bar here. And in the online demo that we're looking at here, we have all of the modules within Orion installed. But if you just had the Network Performance Monitor, then you would just have your first 3 tabs here, your home, your network, your first 2 tabs, your home and your network. If you add in things like NetFlow traffic analysis, you have an additional tab, Config Manager, again an additional tab, and continuing in that way across the board there. There are 2 modules which I haven't touched on at all in any of the slides, and those are more relating to systems and applications management. If you're a server guy or a desktop guy and you want to monitor and manage those, then we have 2 tools here that will be useful for that. Due to the focus of this particular webinar, I'm not going to go into any details on those. I just wanted to highlight that they are there. Underneath these tabs then you've got different views available, and as I mentioned earlier on, each one of these views can be customized to show the information in different ways. A lot of our customers will like to put these views up on their large screens within their operation centers or their help desks and so on, so that key information that they need is available to them immediately just by glancing at a screen. In yellow here on the top, you have a sort of a notification area, and different messages can appear here depending on what's going on. So for example, with the network discovery feature that I mentioned, you can schedule that. So Orion can go out and do a scan of your network on a scheduled basis, and in this case here, the schedule discovery found 63 new devices and 2 devices that have been changed. I can go in there and view the results of that scan and then take action, and the actions will essentially allow me to either import the device and monitor it, or indeed ignore it if it's not a device I'm interested in, so that doesn't show up in successive scan results. Underneath that then you have your main dashboard. So we're now looking at the home page, and the idea of the home page really is that when you log in, you're seeing all of the key data that you need across all of the modules in one central page. Up on the top left of this page, you have something called an All Nodes Tree View. This is essentially a list of all of the devices that you're currently monitoring. And by default, we'll group that list by vendor. So you'll see a lot of mainstream vendors in there, from Windows to Cisco to Brocade and so on. As I mentioned earlier, any device, so long as it's SNMP enabled, can be monitored by Orion. Emmett spoke about the whole traffic light system in terms of green, yellow and red, and you'll see evidence of that here with the icons that are flashing next to the devices themselves. And you can see combinations of those, in some cases green with a red flashing icon, and that essentially means that while the device is up, one or more interfaces on that device may be down. In this case, if we hover the mouse over this 3500 series Cisco switch, we get some key data about its current performance in terms of CPU, memory, response time, and packet loss. We can also see what type of device it is, its IP address, and in this case that one or more of its interfaces are currently down. We talked about the Lucid web interface in terms of being able to drill down, so I can click on pretty much everything I see within the console to drill down to another level. So if I click into this particular device, it navigates down to a node details page for me. And this essentially is information just about one specific device. So again, up at the top left, you have gauges here giving you a visual indication of some performance statistic like memory or CPU. Up on the top right, again, I've got a list of all of the interfaces that we're monitoring on this node, Ethernet interfaces, VLANs, and so on, their current utilization in terms of traffic, both send and receive. And again, if I want to drill down further there, I can click on those interfaces and see greater detail on them. Further down then you'll see various different historical performance charts, and we're undergoing a bit of a change with the charting at the moment. We're going to be upgrading the charting mechanism in the product, and you'll see much more interactive charts that you can hover mouse over and see data points and so on. So the charts, as good as they are in this, we've had them for quite a while, and they did need, I think, to be updated, so I'm glad to say that's happening quite soon. Further down then, depending on the modules you have installed, you may have other data here. So again, we've got the config manager available within this demo, and I can see here the last 5 configuration changes, and I can click in and see what those were. On the right hand side, we also have the user device tracker, which is tracking everything that's plugged into my switch ports, so I can see all of the port details. There is the IP address and the MAC address of devices that are connected to each of these fast Ethernet ports on this particular switch. Scrolling back up to the top and just clicking on Home again, next to the network list of nodes on the top left, on the top right here, it's just refreshing, you'll see an enterprise network map. And this is the mapping function I spoke of within the slides, a very popular feature because of the nature of the way it can display connectivity between devices as well as current performance statistics in a graphical interface. So what you can do with this is you can map your networks. Again, so if you have multiple sites, multiple regions, or indeed just multiple offices in a single region, whatever it happens to be, you can represent those on a parent map such as a world map here, and then what you can do is you can drill down. So again, if I click into the EU locations, it drills down for me and loads, in this case, a map of Europe with a list of all of the network objects on that map. And this really is just a very simplified example of the types of maps that you can create with Orion. It's very easy to create these, and you have the ability to have these connections automatically drawn for you using that Connect Now feature which will look at the topology data we've gathered and use it to draw the connections. Further down then, we've got things like nodes with problems and top 10 nodes by average CPU load. So again, a wealth of information here, easily presented, very easy to understand. Further down again, then you've got some top 10s. So this is the NetFlow module here, showing me the top 5 conversations. Conversations are essentially a user of traffic, a source and a destination, if you will. So in this case, it's from this machine A Curry to and from YouTube.com in the last hour, and that's in green there. So a user is accessing YouTube, and that's obviously consuming some of the bandwidth on the network. On the right-hand side, we've also monitoring servers and applications in our demo here, so I'm monitoring some processes. I'm not going to linger on that due to the nature of the webinar and it being Netman focused. Further down, again, the total number of ports that are in use across the entire network infrastructure as gathered by the user device tracker. And further down then, if I continue, you'll see things like event summaries. And finally, at the very bottom here, we will give you the ability within Orion to actually link in to third-party products. So you can embed a dashboard or a website from another place into the Orion web console and render it within that dashboard. And that can be handy for things like trouble ticketing systems. You'll see an example of that there with Dell Case. I'm imagining that this may be updated because we've actually just recently released our own help desk solution now called the Web Help Desk. It's a very detailed product. It's an exciting one that we're just almost coming up to speed with here. We recently acquired another company based in the US that have a fantastic product to help users with their trouble ticketing needs. So I have a suspicion that we may be popping that in there before too long and maybe taking the Dell Case one out. But in any case, it's a good example of the type of integration that you can perform within the front end of Orion in terms of inserting information from other sources into our console. I'm going to just quickly go through some of the other views, maybe for the next 5 minutes, and just look at the clock here. I might then see if we have any questions and sort of do a wrap up. So that's the home page. The next page that we have is the top 10. And this is a really nice view. It kind of summarizes your top 10 areas of concern across a range of different categories. So things like the nodes with the worst response time, interfaces with the highest utilization, nodes with the highest CPU. You can see quite clearly why this is a handy one to have. As an admin of the network or of servers and so on, this is the kind of data that I really want to see at a glance. Moving along, I mentioned in the slide that Orion has a very detailed alerting engine. Within the dashboard, you can view a list of all of your currently triggered alerts. You can filter this view, and you can then acknowledge alerts as well to sort of say that you're working on them and so on. Orion NPM also has the ability then to monitor wireless networks as well. So if you have thin client access points or autonomous access points and wireless controllers and so on, we can pull some key data on their performance, things like the number of connected clients, their signal strength, the amount of data that they sent and received, and we can view all this information then historically within the reporting section. And here is an example of that reporting section. You have a variety of broad out-of-the-box reports, and in the example of wireless, if we look at that particular section, I can look at things like the average and peak number of clients per access point over, in this case, the last 7 days. Now this is all fully customizable. I can change this report, I can filter it, I can also schedule it to be sent out on a recurring basis. And this one I think is a nice one. Again, how many clients am I getting on average to each access point? What's the peak number? Maybe my access points need to be redistributed, maybe some are under pressure, maybe others are not, and so on. So this kind of data is handy to have. And it's handy to have it in this dashboard rather than having to go off and look at a different web interface from a particular vendor and look at multiple dashboards for different access points. It's handy to have all that within one central place. So coming back to our menu bar along the top, and I'm going to move on to our most popular module, which is the NetFlow Traffic Analyzer. This ties right into Orion NPM, and what it will do is it will give you top talker information. What we mean by that is who is talking the most on the network, who's generating the most amount of bandwidth and potentially hogging resources on the network. So your home page, again, summarizes key information for you. So you have things here on the right-hand side, like your top 10 endpoints. And again, everything here can be changed, including the charts, the time periods, you can do searches and so on. But in the last 24 hours across my entire network, it's quite evident here from this pie chart that a large percentage of traffic has actually been to or from YouTube.com. In this case, it's actually 45%, which I think will be a bit of a concern if you saw that within your own network. So what we can then do is we can expand on that. So I can click into YouTube, I can get a breakdown of where that traffic is flowing in terms of what devices it's going through. I can then click down into one of those devices. Let's take this one here, for example, and I can see who's been responsible for generating that traffic. So there's been 309 megabytes of data to and from YouTube through this particular device on the network. It's probably a core router or a WAN, a core switch or a WAN router or something like that. And scrolling down a little bit, I can see the conversations. So there you have it, your top 5 conversations of traffic. These are host names of, be they PCs or servers on the network, that are communicating with YouTube. And again, you can even click right down to look at specific conversations and get a detailed history of those in a table and in a chart as well. So the final thing that I'm going to touch on, I think, is the configuration manager, and then we'll go back and wrap up with some Q&A. So this is the other module, the network configuration manager that I spoke about, that allows you to go out and back up automatically all of your device configurations and roll out changes to them. So again, your dashboard, your home page summarizes key data for you. So you have things like your last 5 config changes. Indeed, this device here changed last night. So I can go in and view those changes. I can go in and look at the configuration itself. I can view a config change report, which actually shows me what those changes were. In this case, some lines have been added in green here. So yesterday, those lines weren't there. They're now been added, and I can see what specific changes were made. So I think at this point I'm going to leave 5 minutes at the end to wrap up with some Q&A. So Don, have there been any questions asked by any of the participants at this point?
Well, I'm going to take a quick look here, and thank you so much for the really outstanding presentation and demo. I mean, there you have it, folks. You have really elegant, really powerful software and a great company, a great group of people to partner with. We do have a question. It is, could we receive this presentation after the session? So will that be available to be sent out to all of our attendees?
Double check on that with the marketing department, and we can come back to you on that. I'm not sure how we deal with that. It's a question I'll refer on to my marketing team. I generally just deal with the presentations themselves, but leave that one with me, Don, and I'll feed that back through the guys in Lifeboat, and we can go from there. But a lot of these types of presentations are generally made available through our partner portal, the interface that Emmett mentioned earlier on. There will be a lot of data on there on the various different products and so on. This particular presentation is probably a combination of multiple existing data sheets and so on that we've just combined for today's presentation. So I'd be inclined to just have a look there anyway, and I can come back to you regarding this particular presentation itself.
Okay. And I would also suggest to everybody who's on, if you have colleagues who you would like to also view this webinar, the webinar is recorded and will be posted up on the Lifeboat website shortly after the conclusion of the webinar today, so you can look for that as well. I don't see any other questions right at the moment, but what I'm going to do is, while we talk about our traditional call to action, if anyone thinks of anything, please log your question in and we'll get to it before we sign off. So at this point, what I would like to suggest to everybody who's on is to certainly check out the partner portal at SolarWinds. It's going to be chock full of resources that you can use to help build awareness in your customer base for the product line. We recommend also highly that you contact my colleagues at Lifeboat, your sales reps, Amal Faraj and Tone and Rebecca Brown and Carlos Garcia. They are here every day to answer your questions and offer you any type of pre-sale support that you need, and they certainly can get you pricing. So please take advantage of using your lifeboat reps. Beyond that, Siren and Emmett are great people to work with, great resources. So whatever you need, we're all here to help you grow your business and help you find more SolarWinds opportunities. I'm going to take one more look for questions. I don't see any at the moment. If you think of anything after we log off, please feel free to reach out to your lifeboat rep, and we can set you up if you want to get on a conference call with SolarWinds, or if you would like a deeper dive demo. We can help arrange all of these things for you. Kieran and Emmett, is there anything else you need to add here?
Not at all, other than just saying again, thanks to everybody for taking the time out today to join today's webinar and giving us the opportunity to speak about our company and about our technology. And we do hope that we'll be hearing from you again and that you will see plenty of opportunities to move forward with our product. So thanks again, and to yourself, Don, and the guys there in Lifeboat for putting this together, and we look forward to doing them again in the future.
Absolutely. Same here. All right, everybody, thanks again, and we hope to hear from you all real soon. Have a great day now.
Bye-bye, everybody.